Hello everyone, it's Slippery Jack and welcome back to another video. And today I'm going to be talking about the new album from Steven Wilson, The Future Bites. Alright, so Steven Wilson, that is the mastermind and frontman of progressive rock band Porcupine Tree, as well as many other projects that cover a variety of different music. I'm personally a huge fan of this guy. He's been creating great stuff since the early 90s and continues to do great stuff today. Unlike most of the greats before him, his music takes a more atmospheric approach to progressive rock rather than trying to blow you away with their complexity, like bands like King Crimson did. But you still get those long progressive rock epics. The past decade has been dominated by his solo albums, and as a result, Porcupine Tree has folded. No Man hasn't really done much. He hasn't really done much else with his other projects. Blackfield kept going, but I don't even know what the heck they've been doing like the past couple of years until that Blackfield 5 album. Something like, was it 5? I can't, oh my gosh, I can't remember. So yeah, his first two solo albums, Insurgents and Grace for Drowning, were both very dark and kept that heaviness of late Porcupine Tree, just without like the metal aspect. And Grace for Drowning seemed to have like an industrial thing going on in some parts. I couldn't really get Insurgents, but Grace for Drowning did have some moments. Still, I don't really come back to that album a lot either. Kind of a mood album for me. However, I love The Raven That Refused to Sing and Other Stories. That album, though, it didn't really bring much new to the table, but it was still like consistent all the way through, and yeah, I love it. And Cannot Erase, though, that's probably my favorite of his solo works at the moment. That one does feel like it's something unique and special, and it does bring new stuff to the table. And then there is his latest, his last album, To the Bone, which it kind of leans more to the pop side of things rather than progressive rock. I mean, like, it's Steven Wilson, you're still going to get those progressive influences, but there's not very many songs on here that break the 7-minute barrier, and most of these songs wouldn't be out of place on the radio. It's one of his poppiest outings yet besides Blackfield, and I'm on and off about whether I could call this one great, but then there's tracks like Nowhere Now, People Who Eat Darkness, and Song of the Unborn, which I can't say no to. Alright, I think I could say it's great. And that brings us to The Future Bites. When I heard what the plan of the album is, I didn't know what to think. Wilson apparently is tired of the guitar and feels like there's not much else he can do with it, and therefore he's resorting to electronics. When I heard this, I was a little disappointed because it seems like that's the trend with a lot of guitarists right now and rockers. They're ditching the guitar for electronics, and knowing that Steven Wilson is doing that as well, it was a little unsure. But then knowing like what his plan is, he wanted to modernize his sound, and I'm glad that he's aware that that his sound is like more reminiscent of stuff from the 70s or 90s or early 2000s. So yeah, I'm glad that he wants to modernize his sound. And there's also, like, I heard like the critics talking about it. They're saying some called it his best yet, some called it an okay computer for the Amazon generation. So there's lots of hype behind this album from the critics. I was like, I didn't know what to think. I was prepared for disappointment, but I didn't actually know what I was gonna get. So what did we get with the Future Bites? Well, it's pretty good. Though I wasn't sure of it at first. Once again, it seems like Wilson is moving away from his roots. Like, I was prepared for that, but I didn't know it would be this far off his roots. Like, the progressive, he's ditching progressive rock and going for, like, more of an art pop kind of sound. Like, you get, like, these fun poppy songs on the album, like Self and Eminent SLEAZE, to more ambient moments like Man of the People and King Ghost, to the 10-minute epic that is Personal Shopper. I wouldn't even say it's comparable to... I wouldn't say this is comparable to OK Computer. Like, that's not an album that's like a level of greatness that I don't think that even Steven Wilson would be able to top. And it's not really... and sound-wise, it's not comparable to OK Computer either. It's like... To me, it's like... It sounds more like a modern version of Wish You Were Here than anything. So yeah, I was very unprepared for this. I was, like, those poppy moments, I didn't see that coming. I thought that To the Bone was just a one-time deal. But apparently these pop elements are here to stay. The electronics are there, and yes, like I predicted, they're not going to... I was predicting, like, they weren't really going to bring anything new to the table, since I already listened to a lot of electronic music. And no, they did not bring any much new to the table. And yeah, like, but he did succeed in creating something that sounds like it came from 2021. I mean, like, all his other albums, like I said, they sound like they should have been like in the 70s or the early 2000s. This is an album that only could have come out this year, or last year for that matter. And there are like some, on a lot of the synths, you can also hear like these fluttery Boards of Canada-esque things going on, which is cool. Do I say that about every artist now? Well, it all goes to show their influence is everywhere. So anyway, let's get into individual tracks. Unself is a soft opener with some acoustic guitar. It's really not something that I would return to out of context. It might as well be part of Self, which is the next track. Now, like I said, this is a very catchy poppy track that's kind of funky. And yeah, this really caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting like a disco-influenced track from Steven Wilson. But after listening to it, my goodness, it's just so infectious and catchy that I can't help but like it now. It's just something it's hard not to like start bopping your head and getting into it. And then there's King Ghost, which is more on the ambient side of things. It's got lots of these atmospheric synths and high-pitched vocals. And this has been quite a grower as well. It's also got like that slow electronic percussion that we've been seeing him play with in Cannot Erase, as well as To the Bone. And honestly, I didn't really like how it sounded. It kind of felt unneeded, but throughout this album, he executes it perfectly, and there's no better example than King Ghost. 12 Things I Forgot, again, like Self, I was not prepared for this. It sounds, rather than a disco song, it sounds like early Blackfield, being more acoustic based with some piano. But after listening to it, I've come to love this one as well. It's very accessible, of course, but it sticks in your head, and the lyrics are just beautiful. Eminent SLEAZE is more of the Self variety. It's got like that disco influence again, and those gospel vocals, at some point there are these keyboards that come in that sound just like the keyboards from Have a Cigar, and yeah, this whole track just has like a kind of Have a Cigar kind of vibe, and I don't know, I'm on and off with this track. I mean, it's a fun track, it's enjoyable, but this track really caught me off guard. Like, unlike the other tracks, this one is like a whole nother level of being caught off guard. And yeah, it has grown on me like the other tracks have. But I'm still warming up to it. It's just not my thing. Maybe I'll enjoy it more later on this year, but I just couldn't really get into it. Man of the People, though, is great. It sounds like something that could have been off Hand Cannot Erase, so it's not like completely... This song isn't like a completely new one for Steven Wilson, but I do love it. I love those hypnotic synths, and it's just very memorable. It really sticks with you, and that keeps me coming back to it. Personal Shopper is the longest song at almost 10 minutes, and probably my favorite. It's got this darkness to it and those Boards of Canada-esque fluttery synths, as well as a bounciness that makes it danceable, and despite its length, it just flies by. My only issue with this track is that its lyrics, and its lyrics are about like how consumerism is dehumanizing us, and come on, we've heard this a million times before. Come on. But that doesn't ruin the track for me. This is still a very enjoyable track that I see myself coming back to a lot. So yeah, Personal Shopper is great. Follower is also great. It's the most rockin' track on the album with memorable pop hooks. It's more guitar driven than most of the tracks, but it's got no shortage of electronics and an overall epicness. It's got like lots of cool sounds, and it just kind of it reminds me of like a modern version of Hawkwind. And it ends with the slow and melancholic Count of Unease, which may not be the most exciting track, but I think this was the perfect way to end the album. So overall, I was unsure about this album at first. I found it disappointing, but it gets better each time I listen to it. It's definitely a great album, though there isn't much here that hasn't been done before, but it was still very interesting hearing Steven Wilson's take on this type of music and these elements, and that is what makes it a unique experience. Go check it out. I'm overall feeling I'm gonna go with an 83 out of 100. Thanks very much for watching. Like and subscribe to support this channel, and tell me your thoughts on this album in the comments. So, yeah, bye.